Just like the Drake song, right? So, okay. Thank you very much. We just heard from Briley, who took us through the 1003 and the submission process. And I think you're on the docket for talking about like the consumer cost disclosure and then also CD, TRID, all that kind of stuff. Is that correct? What were we?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just told disclosures.
What's that?
I was just told disclosures.
Disclosures, perfect. That's TRID stuff, so that's great. Okay, so we're gonna let you take it away. What Briley did is she just went and looked at some of her current files and just kind of showed us what she was doing and what her process was and taking us through the documents. And if you want to do that with disclosures and looking through stuff, that would be great. Or however you want to kind of introduce us to the subject. We're here to listen.
Okay. So, I mean, the disclosures is kind of a. Do you hear me echoing?
Yeah, I'll turn it off. So when you start talking, I'll turn my mic off so you can talk. You don't have to echo. There you go.
Okay. Okay. So disclosures, most of the lenders will submit with the initial disclosures, and I'll just jump into kind of letting you know the biggest issues that we see on our side that's going to hold up your closings. So I think if you could target and get them used to providing the LE or CD as soon as possible.
Loan estimate, closing disclosure.
Property and everything, but if we could get that in sooner, it would definitely speed up closings. We're no longer required to purchasing those signatures, and I will have lender after lender after lender be like, I need my CTC, and I'm like, you're not CTC, you've got to get that LE in so we can
CTC, clear to close.
ICCD, and get it out for signature.
ICCD, initial consumer cost disclosure. It's our document.
Super important to get that in as quickly as possible. Any questions with that?
No, perfect. Do you want to just take us and show us a couple? See what you look for when you look at those?
I have no idea if they do that.
Yeah, if you just want to go into CS Portal and find us one and kind of just run us through it real fast in the document, that would be great.
Okay. So I have one earlier today.
Perfect. Perfect.
Let me go in.
What's it missing? What's probably
What's that?
Let me see if I can see it here.
And then you should be able to share your screen by hitting the up arrow here. Right. So.
Okay.
So TRID still applies with the.
Okay, I'm just gonna get into the file here quickly. Sorry,
No.
I wasn't given a ton of info on what we're doing here, so.
No, that's how we roll. Whatever you want to dispense to us is great. Thank you. We're grateful to take any information you have.
No problem. I'm happy to do it. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen here. Which screen am I sharing?
I would just click entire screen and select the actual screen window that you want to share if you have multiple screens. You have to click on the window.
I've got 3, so I'm not seeing where it's entire screen. Oh, I've got to go through a security and privacy.
Oh, you got to set it up to do it? I can share one. If you'd like me to grab a file, I can share one and then you can talk about it and we can share it from our end. That way we don't have to worry about it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, let's do that.
That's perfect. Okay, so I was looking at one today. Let me give you the loan number.
Okay, let me get into CS Portal.
It's 2. Okay.
Okay, boom, sign in. Okay, go ahead. What's the number?
Okay, 250-7071-7581.
Okay, looks like Annie Mac, Braden's client, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna click on the name and I'm gonna drop down past the con log, get all the way down to the documents, and we're just looking for the CD, right?
So I would pull up the prelim CD. Let's see.
Right there? Okay.
There's a couple.
Can you see that okay?
So we've got one uploaded on 8/5, tenant number 3, CD, showing funds to close.
Okay, which one was that? It was.
It's under miscellaneous documents, the first one.
Number 3.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so there's their CD from the most recent information. The last one we got was on, let's see, what I was looking at. Pull up the one on 7/24.
Okay. 7/24. You guys see it? Draft CD?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so the situation with this one is we're down to the wire, getting super close for getting this one done. So they give me the newest CD, we'll send it out. I send out the new CCD, and the response was, can you confirm the payment? And the buyer doesn't have those kind of funds. Can you confirm it? So one thing that I think the lenders really need to understand is that we take the figures to prepare the ICCD and the CCD directly from their closing disclosure or LE.
Does that look right to you guys?
And so these closing disclosures that they have sent are vastly different. So, you know, I had to go through and kind of figure out where the differences were, and their closing costs have gone up significantly. And I don't think that they were calculating in the monthly fee that goes along with the program.
Right.
So, I mean, here we are, the end. Hopefully they can figure it out and get the funds, and the buyer will be okay with the payment. But I think it's super important for these lenders to understand these costs that are associated with, you know, like the monthly fee and things like that, and that we are literally taking all of their figures that they're giving us and issuing, you know, the ICCD.
Gotcha. It looks like there's no interest rate on this.
Understand it.
Yeah, sorry. It looks like there's no interest rate on this one. So 11.59. That's anemically low, right? For a $400,000 purchase. That's obviously the first thing. No interest rate. What else would you go through and look for in this thing to show us? I'll turn off the mic so you can talk. Cause I'll just kind of scroll through it and you just talk about it.
Okay. A lot of mistakes are made with the lenders do not update their HOI and taxes to reflect properly. And so that's something that I'll always go and look for. Seller concessions get missed a lot, or they're incorrect. I think that they just forget that, you know, there's a real loan behind this, and it's going to be a real, you've got to do real loan figures behind this to follow up everything. It's, you know, just like they would do for the loan documents when they're funding the loan. I mean, they've got to be accurate.
This thing's like useless.
I think that gets lost.
This is useless. Like, why would they give this to us?
Yeah, all we know is
This is completely useless. Okay. And do you see this all the time?
That's what we see.
Okay. All right. So we got to drill into them. Don't give useless LEs, right? You didn't even put an interest rate on this. Maybe we should create like an LE hall of stupidity, right? And some of the dumb things that we see from people, because that's like, we're not going to do this loan for a 0% interest, right? A payment of $1,159, that's principal only over, 30 years. So ridiculous. Okay.
just they have to
Yeah, it's a $400,000 loan, and I think it's really important to maybe drill down just to say, you're held to standards with TRID, with your LE. If you issue an LE, stuff can't change. Why is this any different?
That's a good point. They just kind of relax. They relax because they know it's a government entity loan, that TRID doesn't apply to a government entity loan, but it's still the same. They should have the same kind of standard. So we got to make sure we adopt that rhetoric. That'll be part of our, that'll be part of our smoothness talk, right? Phrases that we come up with to say to people to show that we understand the process, but also to make our lives a lot easier. So we should create a bank of those kind of words and those kind of phrases to make it better, right? Cover those bullet points. Okay, so I've got your draft.
It's not just, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have your showing funds to close CD up here if you want to go through that one, but you were going to make a comment, so go ahead.
It's not just even like, following the TRID portion of it. I think it's important to remember that you've got a buyer behind it, even though there's a government entity, that has to come with that cash to close and has to swallow that payment. So seeing the accurate figures is just important, is all I was going to say.
Gotcha. Okay, if you want to just take us through this part, this one's like, it looks like it's got the information in it. So.
Yes. So this is where we issued the correct information out and where the fees jumped up so much. So I'm trying to remember, let me look real quick, the difference.
Yeah, I mean, it was $1,150 or something on the other one. So they've got like when you add interest to it.
Well, the payment is actually $3,700 once you put everything together, because you've got HOA, you've got your monthly, and that amount right there is just your P&I.
Right. Okay. Principal and interest, and then add everything. It's $3,466.96. Got it.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, they were coming in with I believe around $24,000. And the total payment, including HOA, monthly maintenance, all of that kind of thing, was $3,700. So quite a difference from somebody who sees the initial figures.
That can cause a lot of sticker shock, right? And so in this version of the CD, you won't see the 1% credit that we do on these. Not on this one, because this is the 1003 for the client. Right, the 1003 that we generate this is the CD for the client. Go ahead.
It depends. Some of them do see them list out that second mortgage on there per se, but the ICCD and the CCD, in the calculations, we can allot for that, so we can mark whether it's listed or not, and the system, figures that piece of it out so the figures come out properly.
Gotcha. All right, and so what else do you want to tell us about this? I mean, what's important for us to know about? What are the mistakes that are made that you think that we should be aware of on these things? Your biggest frustrations?
Mainly, it's just getting it correct. It's showing the seller concessions. The right deposit, the right down payment, just to be accurate on it. Because when it comes down to the 11th hour and the figures are higher, I mean, that's something that everybody's worked on. The home buyer is excited, they're looking to get into a home, and then they get the sticker shock, and sometimes they fall out because of it.
Would you say it's pretty accurate that basically, to calculate the ICCD, it's basically just cash to close from their CD if they've done it right, and then if you have to add back in 1%, then fine. But if this is done without the 1% credit, it's just basically cash to close plus $1,250, first month payment, half a point, and then a variance of maybe $400.
Yeah, I mean, we take the cash to close, the estimated closing costs, taxes and insurance, sometimes the MIP will be off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, and seller concessions. And those figures are going to spit out the correct numbers. So if they're not right, then it skews everything.
Can you talk a little bit about TRID timing and delivery requirements? We're not necessarily beholden to that here, but like on normal DPA, if it's repayable, can you just run through that really quickly with everyone so they understand what TRID requires for an LE, a CD, and all that?
Sure. Okay, so you've got your specific items that are going to dictate if there's an actual application or not. So, you've got the property address, the borrower's information, income, things like that. And at that point, you legally, per TRID, have to disclose.
Six pieces.
There are federal and state requirements on points and fees figures, and we follow that here as well. So you're maxed out on the amount that you can charge in points and fees. So that's 3%. So we have to follow that. I had another one come up where the lender was looking for an exception to have more than the 3% because the seller was going to pay it.
This is our QM. We follow QM on points and fees, right? QM.
So you have to disclose within a certain time period and disclose as accurately as possible. There are some fees that cannot change once you have disclosed. So that's why I say, they need to think about it as, TRID requirements and follow kind of that guideline, because you have to, as a lender, you have to be really accurate with your fees, or else you end up eating a lot of costs. So like your origination.
What's that?
Your origination box can't change. Title fees and stuff like that can change within a certain percentage that you're allowed and not having to eat it. But TRID is it's federally mandated, and it has to be followed. They're following it internally with their operations on the loan piece of it. So, it just kind of needs to cross over a little bit better with us just for accuracy.
All right, so we had a question. What was your question, Mark?
Well, Brady, the question mark was, I'm just kidding.
That's funny, yeah.
That was bad. No, I was just asking if everything had to be disclosed on the LE and the CD, or just the CD, but then Brady was saying it was just the CD, or on both.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can get them, we initially said, I think for ease of use, that they could just do an initial LE on this stuff, and then we moved to just a final CD. Give us the final CD. But I think on EEP, so for the submission portion. But the problem is, because I think the problem is the LE, they don't put enough time, effort, and energy into giving us a good LE. Like we saw on this one, their loan estimate was garbage, right? So that's why we kind of moved on the EEP side. Give us an initial CD, because then they've kind of already went through it and built it out. But if we can kind of get them, look, treat this like a normal TRID loan in terms of getting the information accurate. Your timing and delivery doesn't necessarily apply to a government entity, but we would really like to have the information be accurate, just the way it is with an LE and a CD, right? I think that's kind of where we need to move towards when we talk to people about this stuff.
I think that would be self-evident.
You would think it'd be self-evident, but it's not. It's not self-evident all the time. That accuracy in numbers would be important if you were doing a mortgage for someone. Yes, so one would think that that's important.
Well, it's important because they're going to eat money.
Yeah, they're going to eat money, right? So we've received guidance from CFPB that on forgivables from a government entity, TRID doesn't apply, but on repayables it does. So we're going to have to start pivoting that on repayables they got to do an LE and a CD, and they got to do timing and delivery and stuff. But what I tell people is,
How often does that even happen though? Because does that happen?
most of the time lenders just follow the same path line on DPA. They're just doing the same path because it's easier for them to do LE and CD on all their loans, right? But I tell them we'll never refuse to purchase or reimburse a second mortgage if I don't have exactly 3 days from the application to LE. Okay? And so the timing is, again, once you get, how many pieces of information is it, Jennifer? It's 6? 6. So this is why a lot of people do TBDs, right? Because they can have almost all the information. They don't have the actual property information there, so it doesn't constitute a complete application. Do you know what they have to do with the file from a lender perspective on these throwaway 1003s? If they don't have all the information, it never makes it to a full application, right? So I'm just wondering, is that what they do? They stop short of basically doing a full 1003 application on the throwaway side, on the client side, and then they do a full application on the 1003 for the government entity. Is that how they're handling it, most of these guys?
I think so. I think that's how they're doing it and getting around that piece of it, yeah.
Okay. Because it seems like it's negative for them. There's some kind of negative reporting if they had a bunch of applications that fell out, right? A bunch of stuff that they knew. I don't know if you're familiar with that portion of it at all. I know that's an adverse or whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a lot of HMDA reporting. You have to report everything
HMDA reporting.
to the feds when at the end of the year. So your HMDA reporting.
That's your
extensive.
demographic information.
And so I think there's many LOs that will keep out specific information, not
All
to
applications.
generate an application. Because again, there's the HMDA reporting, and then by law you have to send out the decision within 30 days. So whether it was a decline or the client abandoned the application or whatever you have to do. So there is stuff involved when you generate an application and it doesn't go through.
Okay, so address this, you guys, in your training when you talk to them, because you're gonna ask them to do a partial, basically, client, right? Like a throwaway 1003. And so basically we recommend you put in all the information except for, say, maybe TBD. Yeah, that's a TBD. So everything except for the property address. And that way you don't have a bunch of these applications that you're throwing out as garbage that you have to deny within 30 days, because you never trip that trigger that it's a complete application, because you don't have the 6 pieces of information to make a full 1003. So address that in your training on EEP with people. For the initial client, correct? Because we use the 1003 to put the information in our system. So that's the easiest way for them to translate into our system. They run it through their LOS, they collect all the information. If they collect all 6 pieces, then that's an application, and then that's going to go against their HMDA reporting at the end of the year, and they're going to have to say this is a denial. They want to avoid that. So don't collect the 6, collect 5, and do it that way, and just know that this is for this. Yeah, leave the property off. And that way we know once we have a contract in hand, then we can do an assignment and we can spin up the 1003 for the government entity. And then they avoid that HMDA reporting she's talking about at the end of the year. Got it?
So the address doesn't need to be included then until the LA.
Their adverse is only if you have a full application and you have basically a denial. That's your adverse action reporting, right? And so that's what she's saying at the end of the year, you have to report it to the feds. And that's what they're trying to avoid, because they're taking in hundreds of applications and none of these guys are going to qualify for normal FHA. So don't do a full application. Keep it short. And they can create, by the way, if they're a big company and they've got what's called a POS, like Blend, a point of sale system, those POSs can generate a MISMO file that they can use to upload to our system, just like a 1003 can be exported into a MISMO file. They can use that and avoid it that way also. But that's one of the things we have to talk to them especially when you're bringing on new clients, because they're going to have that question in your presentations. You'll hear those questions. How do we avoid this? Right? Because we don't want to have 1,000 files that suddenly get denied, right? And have to report that. All right. Anything else you want to tell us about this, Jennifer? You've been very knowledgeable and helpful, but what else can we learn from this?
I think that's probably it with the ICCD and the CCD, and just maybe, again, getting them in earlier so they're not waiting. So for our side of things, we prioritize CTCs always, and the lenders will be like, I'm ready for CTC. And we cannot submit the file as a CTC unless they have everything. And everything is including that initial signed ICCD. And, the lenders have gotten to a big habit of everything's a rush, which has caused a huge backlog everywhere because everybody's always rushing. So getting it in earlier, because even if I just have the ICCD left, it goes into the normal underwriting queue, which can be 24 plus hours, whereas CTC is a couple. So it delays their closings. It truly does.
Gotcha. I don't know if you can hear me.
It's ironic, right?
I can.
You can?
Now I can.
Hold on. Let's get her drug over here so we can see her.
I think you're muted.
I am. I'm sorry. I was dragging you over to the right screen because we got multiple screens here, and it's not, the orientation isn't right. I'll have to fix that. But thank you. You've been very helpful. Now, if you had 3 things, you kind of just told us, but if you had 2 or 3 things that you wanted to tell the account executives, and it sounds like you just gave them to us, right? Make sure you give complete information on the LE and CD. You can't really go to clear to close unless you have all the information in. What are the rules? Are there any other rules you can think of that you want to tell them that we can communicate to the lenders to make this process easier for you guys?
We've got a lot of lenders that will submit a title and then say, hey, I want my updated approval. We have specific points on when we will actually go back into underwriting, and that helps us keep our turn times quick. So we're not going to submit the file in for a title. We're not going to submit the file to, look at a driver's license. It's got the key points when we'll go to underwriting is, obviously an initial submission. If there's something that could kill the deal, so say we're working on an income condition and we haven't signed up income, we'll go back in for that if the entire condition is complete. Other than that, we're going to go into underwriting to review appraisal or home inspection, and then clear to close. So we're not going to onesie twosie condition the underwriting department. Otherwise, we're going to be like everybody else out there and have a 72-hour turn time. We keep it quick by having the specific points of when we'll go back in. So that's probably a really good point to make to your lenders, so they're aware and not expecting every condition to be signed off by an underwriter the minute they submit it.
Got it. Good. All right. Any other questions for Jennifer? Thank you. You've been very gracious in talking to us today and helping us be a better team and hopefully making your life a little bit easier, but we really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. And know that we're always here to help you guys too. Questions or anything, reach out. I mean, all of us are more than happy to talk you through things and help out in any way we can. I mean, we are a team unit trying to, drive these deals to the closing table. So reach out at any time. We're here to help and support you as well.
Thank you very much. Everyone, let's give Jennifer a round of applause. Thank you for joining us so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. We'll talk to you later.
Have a good day.
We'll see you at the party.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. See ya.
Who's next, Marcy?
I love this people.
We got Stefan and